In today's world, many of the products we use every day contain minerals that are extracted from conflict-affected regions. These minerals are referred to as conflict minerals, and their extraction has been linked to serious human rights abuses, environmental damage, and violence. The root cause of conflict mining lies in the demand for these materials, which is driven by a reliance on technology and consumer products. In fact, these materials are present in the supply chains of many products we use daily, including smartphones, laptops, and cars. Over 70% of the world's cobalt mining occurs in the Democratic Republic of Congo, and up to 20% of the cobalt exported comes from artisanal mines where children and adults work in dangerous conditions for little or no pay. Miners in these areas are often subjected to hazardous working conditions, forced labor, and other forms of exploitation. Because of the high demand from electronics companies, many of them participate in financing conflict mining practices. In 2019, the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission reported that 1,277 companies had filed conflict mineral reports, including Apple, Tesla, and Intel. In any given mining project, many different people are working from different types of professions and companies. Engineers are essential to any project running smoothly, namely in this case electrical and civil engineers. Civil engineers take care of the mining itself, demolition, testing rock quality, building mining infrastructure like mine shafts and rails. Electrical engineers help design these mining systems and have influence overseas as well, where electrical engineers design devices for which the minerals are needed. However, not all the challenges are technical. Conflict mining in these countries poses lots of problems to the workers, as well as the environment in general. Social and environmental organizations are also working and collaborating with engineers in mining jobs. The job of these social and environmental organizations is to ensure high quality working conditions, reduce child labor, and ensure that the jobs are done sustainably. They are the intermediary between the companies that need these minerals and the governments and councils of the countries involved. They must prioritize the workers' rights and face pressure from groups that have only personal gain in mind. They must also ensure that communities in the impact zone of the mining site are not affected and can keep living their lives as usual. The addition of these organizations in the mix forces engineers and non-engineers to work together and make decisions in the best interests of everyone. In the early stages of the project, engineers and environmental and social experts must collaborate to assess the potential risks of the project and develop appropriate measures to mitigate these impacts. These groups are needed as they have much more knowledge of the social impacts of the projects than the engineers, especially in the regions where the engineers are not familiar. Mining takes up a huge amount of space, and this might mean relocation for certain groups of people. This is something that needs to be resolved before any mining takes place. The same applies to environmental organizations. They would be able to provide vital information on the environment and the terrain that the mining is taking place. The environmentalist groups need to know the mining plans of the engineers and the equipment that will be used, and the engineers need to gather information about the land and the people living on it. More on the environment, sustainability groups require civil engineers to design appropriate waste management facilities to ensure proper treatment of mining waste and prevent pollution to the environment and communities. Electrical engineers provide energy waste management and automation systems to ensure the safety and efficiency of the waste treatment process. With this collaboration often comes a conflict of interest between groups, namely financial conflicts. For example, what happens when the human rights and/or environmental organization's suggestion significantly increases a project's cost? It is easy to say that the project should just follow the suggestion despite the cost. However, at the end of the day, a project exists because it is profitable, and increasing costs is unfavorable. In such a case, the interests of all stakeholders should be considered equally, and a compromise should be made. Although this would introduce a lot of complexity in the project, the benefit of considering the social and environmental aspects far outweighs any issues that this complexity may present. The topic of conflict mining is a very complex one with many different disciplines involved that need to make difficult decisions and solve problems. The mining industry is just one example of where engineers must collaborate with non-engineers. In the real world, this happens in all sectors, and it is never as simple as just a technical design issue. The real difficulty comes in collaborating with people outside your field.